Okay, welcome everyone to Progressive Discussions. I am in the new location of Edgewater, New Jersey. I had to move, no more hometown of Lodi. I am now a couple blocks from the Hudson River, overlooking the Manhattan skyline. And I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Gary W. Owens, originally from Virginia, now residing in Tennessee. How are you doing for this late red-eye show?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. Had a very stressful week at work, so now I'm having some Mickey's Fine Malt Liquor. I've already had one. I'm getting ready to have my second one, so I'm just going to sip on this during the show. And let's see what I end up saying with a nice little buzz on. Maybe
Okay.
something crazy or insane or really off the wall or bring some heat, but to be honest, after the week I've had, I really could give two fucks less.
Well, it'll be the heat of reality just pouring out of you.
Mm-hmm. And
It'll
my
be,
webcam is messed up. The software and all that BS is making it not want to work, so I'm stuck with my gaming headset and the logo.
all right. We've done that once or twice before. You know, it happens. Of course, you people already know Gary Owens when his webcam does work because we have done a pretty decent amount of shows
Mm-hmm.
when he uses his webcam, but he's having difficulties. So we gotta deal with it. That's it. All right. Now, we were talking about things that are happening internationally, as well as uh, the pussyfooting around that's taking place with Donald Trump. We keep hearing, well, you can't do this and that with a sitting president. Well, they should say a golfing president, not a sitting president. Mueller, I guess he has to follow certain laws, even though he is a Republican. And
we can talk on that for a second, but go ahead.
Yeah, he's protecting Trump's ass like Secretary Barr is. I'll call him Roseanne Barr for now.
Yeah, I don't really think like he's protecting Donald Trump because I mean I've seen what reports have come out, and what we've seen is extremely redacted. I mean, there is something in there they obviously don't want us to see. I know they're going to throw this guy as well, it's a matter of national security. They're just because we're investigating a president, we're going to automatically throw a classified label on it. But what can be shown to the public, Donald Trump is not out of the water. All right. He has not been exonerated from anything yet. Robert Mueller has just concluded his investigations. While although he himself cannot indict a sitting president, that does not mean that Congress can't. So basically, he's done his job. Now it's up to Congress to get off their fat, lazy asses and do something.
right, and not what Pussy Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, the corporatist Democrat, the Democrat. She does not want to impeach Trump, and some of the other centrist Democrats feel the same way. Like,
Old Bernie Sanders has he was on the impeachment train, but look, we saw how quickly he changed his tune. He said, "Go ahead, impeach the motherfucker," but now he's saying, "No, let's not impeach. Let's just try to work with him." Hey, this is what
work
you
with
get.
them.
This is what we get.
Why is everyone kowtow to that old bag, Nancy Pelosi? Why? You remember how pushy she was about being Speaker of the House for the second time? She kept on nagging everybody,
Hmm.
very intrusively. She's an old bag, like what's it? Uh, was it Weinstein? No, what the hell is it? You know,
Boehner?
no. Once a congressperson or a senator uh, starts to say ridiculous things in their elderly years, it's time for them to step down and
I mean, Pelosi's what? Shit. She's in her 70s, right?
no. She's over 80, I heard, from what I understand.
Really? I thought she was in her 70s.
No,
But
she's up
anyway,
there. No,
I'm glad you brought that up because it just goes to show you that any kind of this so-called leftist movement, we're going to embrace socialism, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, but yet when push came down shove, they caved.
yeah, many of the Democrats in the campaign for 2020 are establishment centrists, and which means they're not progressive at all. They're not leftists. I mean, the Republicans can say, anything to the left of Attila the Hun is leftist. But look, if they're not for the programs that, let's say, the people from Our Revolution discuss, or the Democratic Socialists of America, as far as healthcare for everyone, and free public education, and so on and so on. If they're not for that, then they're not a populist, a leftist, or a progressive at all.
Exactly. I mean, like I was saying, as much faith that people had in Bernie Sanders, you got exactly what faith you put into him. I mean, I knew right from the get-go that he was going to cave because this is how you could tell if a Democrat or a leftist or whatever is really going to cave. When push comes to shove, if they really, hang on just a second, why? When push really comes to shove, whenever it comes time to either abolish capitalism by means of revolution or just slapping a happy face on it, that's when you see the true face of leftism. As we can see, the real embrace of socialism just has not happened. And in fact, even what little elements of social democracy America had it's gone. It died with Bernie Sanders.
Well, Americans are brainwashed lemmings. They're sycophants.
Yeah, exactly. They're sycophants.
When Bernie Sanders folded like a cheap camera after the 2016 Democratic convention in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Yes, I did say the word convention. When
Oh,
he
you're gonna get the feminists after you now.
when he well, they came after me when I criticized single parent mothers letting their daughters dress like prostitutes when they left for school. They came down
Oh
on me
Lord.
for that. I said they were looking for trouble. They're gonna get the wrong. They're gonna attract the wrong attention. Mark my word. And they all came down on me. Oh, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. Now, Bernie Sanders folded like a cheap camera and immediately endorsed Hillary Clinton instead of continuing to run as an independent because he had legions of people showing up at his rallies where Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton had like microscopic amounts compared to what Sanders had. Sanders was on a roll, but no, instead of pulling out of the, saying, well, the DNC, they're corporatists. Goodbye, DNC. Pull out, go back to being an independent and run as an independent. The momentum that Bernie Sanders has had, I have a strong feeling he could have really won. But he was so afraid, like a little pussy that he is. He was so afraid of taking votes away from Hillary Clinton and allowing Donald Trump to win. Well, guess what? Donald Trump won anyway, and probably 1/3 of America did not vote, regardless whether Hillary won the pop. They claim she won the popular vote. Donald Trump, I guess, got in with the Electoral College, which is an oligarch rigged bullshit. It's like the super delegates that the Democrats have. I think that's their version of Electoral College and gerrymandering and all that, voter IDs. It's all crap. It's all a way to keep the little guy from really getting to the polls and voting, and to keep minorities, the poor, the disabled, the elderly. They don't want the asses of the masses to get out there and vote. That's why when G.W. Bush beat
Al Gore.
Okay, they did not want to wait for the absentee ballots to come in, the people that weren't in the country. They did not wait for the inner city vote in, I believe, Cleveland, the city of Cleveland, and other cities. They don't want to wait. They immediately, the fat cats arranged it so GW won. So Bernie Sanders folded like a cheap camera. He's a pusillanimous pipsqueak because he is, just by looking at him.
Call him exactly what he is.
I mean, he's great for opening his mouth and going on a tangent or ranting when he's in the Capitol building, but for him to immediately endorse Hillary 2016, and now what he's doing with sucking up to Nancy Pelosi and not wanting to impeach the Trumpanzee Trumpenstein.
Well, I mean, I can understand why. Besides the fact he's a sellout, I mean, let's just go ahead and call a spade what it is, a spade.
Yeah.
I can understand why he's doing this, because the House is the one that brings up the impeachment. It's up to the Senate to hear the impeachment. And Mitch McConnell has already made it abundantly clear, if there's any kind of impeachment from the House, he is going to squash it like that. I mean, he's already made that abundantly clear.
Yeah, because
you can just go ahead and say this right now. Mitch McConnell is attached to Donald Trump's ass like you would not believe.
Mitch McConnell's the one that said he is going to, his mission, his objective is to make Barack Obama a one-term president.
And we saw how quickly that turned out. That did not happen.
He's an ugly, old, turtle-faced corporatist, corporate whore, even though Dr. Gary Noe, who's on the radio for many years, reprimanded me for using that term, corporate whore, which is what they are, because they're educated adults that know exactly what they're doing, and they have choices to make. And if someone who's a responsible, educated adult is in politics and makes decisions that shows a lack of integrity or just corruption, they don't deserve to be referred to with any nice, gentle words. So therefore, they're corporate whores. Other ones, Chuck Schumer,
Yeah, Chuck Schumer, all them.
Cory Booker, any establishment Democrat. Listen, when Cory Booker was mayor of Newark, New Jersey, he had a private meeting with Balloon Boy, Krispy Kreme Christie, had a private meeting with Balloon Boy, Chris Christie, and all of a sudden he started closing public schools in Newark, left and right.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me go grab what I got in the oven, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
And when I get back, I got the perfect thing to retort to that.
Okay.
All right, so hang on just a second.
Okay, I'll just babble and yeah, I mean, CNN reports it. Many Democrats and progressives, even so-called progressives, they report it all the time. Donald Trump has been lying many times, daily, every day. He says he doesn't want to listen to the scientists in regards to climate change, naturally, because big oil means money in his pocket. That's why he kisses the ass of the Saudi Arabian prince. It's money. That's it. The bank is their church. Money is their God. So in this case, they're not going to listen to the scientists because the objective of Republicans, right-wing capitalism, is profit before people and the planet. That's it. Money, profit. That's their only objective. And I refuse to support any establishment Democrat who calls himself a centrist or who lies and calls himself a progressive, but in reality is a centrist. The media makes that big mistake. The media refers to many of the Democrat candidates as progressives. They're not progressives. The American media they might claim to be progressive, they might sound progressive, but they are still up the ass of the corporate sponsors. They have to mind their P's and Q's, the media. So that's why, what's that woman, Erin Burnett of CNN, sometimes she sounds right wing.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. Okay, now the response to a Democrat, an establishment Democrat that passes himself off as a progressive, like Cory Booker, but then schmoozes with Republican governor, the very obese Chris Christie, and then closes many public schools. And he did not work wonders in any way for the city of Newark. It's still a dump. Camden is still a dump. Patterson,
Jersey's just a dump. Period. That's why I don't want to go there.
Atlantic City's a ghetto. As soon as you leave the boardwalk and the casinos and the hotels, you got heroin addicts bobbing their heads up and down. I was there, right by the entrance of the casinos. You got aggressive panhandling young black guys that are very able-bodied. One of them yelled at my friend Jimmy, who's used to be a county cop, says, "Give me a soda." You know what Jimmy had in his pocket? The high voltage cattle prod, where you push the button. You push the button and you see Frankenstein bolts going zzz, 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 zzz. He says he would have came near my beverage, my Snapple. I would have went right for his genitalia.
Snapple's not bad, but it's not really my first drink of choice.
No, yeah, but he was walking around. He just needed something to drink. He was like, we were outside. We were we were going somewhere. We were going to Wild Wild West casino and hotel and casino called the Wild Wild West. It was pretty cool. But anyway, you know, aggressive panhandlers from a city that is totally shot because casino gambling did absolutely nothing to help Atlantic City like they claimed it would when they approved of casino gambling there. Did nothing. Camden shot. You might as well drop anthrax, nerve gas, and just call it a day. You know, Patterson, or you know, they got gangs. You hear gunshots constantly, and you have nepotism and cronyism in City Hall, where you know the government gives Patterson money, and the money disappears, and they cut the police force, and they give themselves raises all the time, and they're
Let's not forget the gun control.
yeah, they're paper pushers. You know, in other words,
I will say this: I'm glad Jersey has stepped up and said no new gun control measures. Because wasn't it passed here recently that New Jersey instituted a law to where you couldn't have anything over 10 rounds for rifles, shotguns, or handguns, even though they were supposed to be covered under grandfather clause that the government made them turn it in, and basically Jersey said, "Go fuck yourself. We're not turning them in." I love it. I love it, and I want more of it.
well, once you take firearms away from American citizens, that's one big step towards fascism.
Well, they like to say that communists like to grab guns, even though I've clearly shown that socialist and communist gun ownership is the right to socially and collectively bear arms, meaning that it's more of an enshrined right, the United States Second Amendment. But
Now,
at the same time, it helps solve the liberal versus conservative conundrum about gun ownership versus like the, oh, let's do nothing, let's just let what's going to happen happen, just don't take our guns away versus ban everything.
now, mainland China, according to my friend in Shanghai, they don't want citizens to bear arms. So mainland China is not.
Yeah, because they don't want another Maoist uprising, because they know that if they allow gun ownership, Maoists will try to overthrow the current state capitalist government, and that's not what they want.
Yeah, it's really capitalism has only, from what I was told, capitalism has only helped like it always does. The fat cats at the very top, and the people make shit when they go to work, and they work long hours, sometimes with adult diapers on, like Foxconn, the place that assembles your iPhone and your iPads and everything. They're not allowed to take bathroom breaks. They have to wear the pens and all that shit. And there's your capitalism for you. Inbound call centers, customer service jobs, office jobs in the Philippines where they give them 50 cents an hour with no benefits. There's your capitalism again.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. You're not going to get any kind of change as long as capitalism is around. You're always going to have the liberal and conservative factions. They are never going to change, no matter how much they appear to be different on the surface. Behind closed doors, they're the exact same. And in fact, their actions show it that they're the exact same.
You know what a corporate suck-up Philippine guy told me? Well, it's still a lot more money than they were making before. That's the most common excuse that a capitalist suck-up from those countries always say. It's a lot more.
Even though the Philippines are much, much more exploited than the United States, I'll just go ahead and say that right now. Just because they're making more money does not necessarily mean that they're not being exploited. That's a very flawed argument and very flawed logic.
Well, they have to pay out of pocket, just like in Colombia, South America. They have to pay out of pocket for every time they get sick, every time they need to see the doctor or go to the hospital or if they want an education, they want to go to a university. Everything is out of pocket. That's That's capitalism. They
Mhm.
want to privatize everything. You have to pay out of pocket for every damn thing. And this is the argument I had with a friend of mine who's a Republican who insists that uh, um, single payer healthcare in Canada doesn't work. Well, that's not what I heard.
I mean, Canada, I know they had a lot of problems, but I always get that argument a lot too. Is just because Canada has universal healthcare, therefore Canada is the only country that has it. There are clearly other countries out there that have universal
Sure,
healthcare.
Northern Europe.
And in fact, did you ever throw out the argument to him like Norway, which was the first country to implement it and has now had it for 107 years?
I got no answer. When I said that Scandinavians, you don't see them desperately trying to move to the United States and become American citizens, do you? Now, you don't see them coming here because they have it good. Norway gives an $800 a month, I think, base.
Basic income.
Yeah, basic income of 800 a month for every citizen. Just keep your nose above water, which is nice. And then even if you're a tourist, you can go to their universities for free, and you can get health care for free. And as opposed to these pure capitalist countries that the United States probably was responsible for setting up. Like, I know Republicans really loved, like when I was married to a Colombian woman, at that time, G.W. Bush was in. And he was always sucking up to Colombia's president at the time, and their system was everything's out of pocket. The government provided nothing. If you're poor and you need to go to the emergency room and you have no money or insurance, they tell you die outside in the street. That's
Pitiful.
exactly
So pitiful.
that's capitalism.
That
That
should just show you just how much disregard capitalism really has for human life and how much it really is just for profit. I mean, it doesn't matter who you exploit or who you got to screw over to make profit.
Yeah. Well, you heard what I said when you were getting your chicken. Profit before people and the planet. That's all I care about.
But we'll touch on this a little bit and then we'll go into what's happening more internationally. I mean,
Okay.
I hate to say it now. I mean, capitalism is in decay. Capitalism is dying. We see it all around us. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say this right now. I don't think there's going to be an exploitation of the first world because where they've exploited the third world so much and then the third world has started to rebel, they really can't turn those tools of oppression on us. Basically, they're just going to have to, you know, destroy themselves. And I hate to say it, I think it's going to take capitalism destroying itself or ultimately destroying the world and or both before people finally wake up and realize what's really happened. I think it's going to have to be right there so in their face to where you can't really argue anything else otherwise before people really realize the direness of this situation. I mean, I know that sounds morbid and it sounds very pessimistic, but it's the truth.
Hey, what
That's
about
really what it's going to take.
the great civilizations of the past? They they decayed from within. Roman Empire, Greeks, Egypt, Persian Xerxes, whatever the Persian Empire, uh, uh, everything from Genghis Khan. I mean, there's something that happened to all these civilizations. The British
British
Empire.
Empire,
They,
which
yeah,
the last remnants of the British Empire has now been gone for 22 years.
yeah. Oh, I hear the Industrial Revolution first started in Manchester, England. Thank you very much, United Kingdom, for that. Uh, 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 I happen to know a British college professor now living in Perth, Australia, that is the greediest, cheap ass skinflint you'll ever meet in your life. I mean, he'll everything. He's got to make a profit over everything. He even steals other people's ideas. I told him, I says, now I know where the United States got its,
got its influence from.
its influence from. I mean, uh, a, bir- we were begotten from the British Empire.
Yeah, the American Empire is basically the British Empire 2.0, but worse.
Yeah, much worse, much worse. It's like a demonically possessed British Empire, or um, um, and also I know, getting back to how these governments, in particular the United States, is trying to protect religion in America by not telling people the real truth and the real evidence that they have about extraterrestrials, and they have tons of evidence, and they just won't let it out because they're afraid of panic.
I mean, what real panic would there be? I mean, I hate to say it, I think the masses would accept aliens more than what they would organized religion. Organized religion has more to lose about an extraterrestrial civilization being revealed than the masses themselves.
Man,
I mean, if you've watched Ancient Aliens, I mean, the proof is all there. Aliens have been interfering with our past, they're interfering in our present, and they're interfering in our future whenever that time comes. And it's just right there. It's inarguably that we are half primate and half alien. It's right there. There's no argument really to be had.
we were an experiment. I think
Yes.
evolution. I think otherwise you would still see primates walking upright, walking out of the jungle to this day. You don't see that. We were an experiment. They created us, and of course the ancient humanoids looked at them like they were gods.
Hmm.
Excuse me. Now, organized religion has done many wicked things.
Exactly. I know they're so quick to point out the evils of socialism and communism, but then yet, how many millions of people have died because of religion in the name of God?
The Catholic Church, I think, was responsible for over 50 million deaths. And look how corrupt many of the popes were back in the Renaissance period and the Middle
Hmm.
Ages. They were very corrupt, very wicked. If you disagreed with them, they accused you of heresy and either hung you, they tortured you in torture chambers, and then burn you at the stake. Just for like disagreeing with the Pope, who claims he was the vicar of Christ, like he represented God and Christ on the earth, and he was as corrupt as they can be. And look how wealthy they are. But they
Uh,
want you to feed the children. They want you to donate to feed the starving children. Meanwhile, they got gold bullion. Their treasury is immensely wealthy. The real estate that they own.
Religion. What's not there to love about it? I mean, getting back to what I was saying, how many millions, if not billions, of lives have been innocently slaughtered because of religion? I mean, if you were to put together how many people have been killed in the name of Allah, Yahweh, Jehovah,
Yeah.
I guarantee you it would trump how many people have died because of the so-called evils of socialism and communism. And even this this is even better. Just to put things into more of a different perspective. Even the evils of capitalism. I mean, what does that tell you? Religion? Throw that shit to the scrap heap. Be done with it. Don't fool with that shit no more.
Yeah, I mean, all organized religion, not just Christianity, they have done countless wicked things. The only people that did not really do any anything evil, exploiting and murdering, was probably the Buddhists, monks. Um,
Well, the Dalai Lama, but we'll touch on that here in just a moment.
yeah, they're very inoffensive, very peace loving. They're one with nature, like an earth religion, like like the Wiccans, or they're at one with Gaia,
Yeah,
the mother.
but here's one thing I want to throw out, and if there's any religious people watching this, I'm sorry, but this is just one thing that has to be said. If it pisses you off, I really could give two fucks less, but it's something that has to be said. Okay, getting back to what I was saying. Look at how many people have been killed in the name of some kind of god or goddess. But how many people have really been killed in the name of Satan? How many holy wars have there been in the name of Satan? How many battles or how many killings have there really been in the name of Satan? I guarantee you they're out there, but I mean, it's such a disproportionate ratio. Like, probably 1%, if that.
You're right.
So, I mean, it seems like to me, Satan really doesn't seem like all that bad of a guy. I mean, I know I'm agnostic atheist, but it seems like to me, Satan's really not looking like that bad of a guy here. And if you read the Bible and read other religious texts, what is it that seems like their particular god or goddess like to support? Genocide, slavery, torture, inequality. Those things that they like to pin on Satan, but then yet, if you read Satanism and Luciferianism and things like that, they don't really advocate that. So something's not quite right there.
The exorcist Bishop Brian, who is on the Travel Channel show Ghost Adventures, he told me on Twitter, he says, people always blame Satan or a demon. They say, oh, an evil spirit made me do it. Satan made me do it. He says, they don't make you do anything. You have freedom of
freedom of will.
free
Oh yeah, but do we
will.
really have free will? I mean, is that really a thing? Because I mean, last time I checked, I don't think we really have free will. But continue on your thing. I just got to go grab a Sprite for my wife. I'll be right back. No, you can keep on.
Well, free will well, as it applies to today, free will to be to be brainwashed, to be a lemming, to believe all the bullshit that you were taught growing up, with all the lies in your history books. Excuse me. To be to be a sucker that doesn't have a mind of your own. More people are showing that they are not thinking for themselves. They're not independent, critical, free thinkers like the late great George Carlin used to say. They're really not. And getting back to organized religion, hey, that includes the evangelical TV evangelists that run mega churches. If they were really Christians, they would never have a mega church, because they would be giving to the poor, helping the homeless.
All right, I'm back.
You know what I mean? If you're a pastor with a mega church, then you're hoarding and stealing donations.
Exactly. But that's one thing I've never figured out. If money is the root of all evil, then why do they ask for it at the collection plate at church? You're basically just gathering up evil and spending evil to fund your church.
The lack of money is also the root of all evil too. If somebody's that desperate, and like an animal backed into a corner, if you have nothing to lose, and you literally are destitute, I mean, under capitalism, the lack of money, and excessive hoarding of money,
Hmm.
both create very bad situations. So,
It does, but yeah, just religion. What is there not really to love about it? And I love how they pin everything on Satan. It's just whatever happened to this thing called individual accountability? Why can't it just be, one person did something bad and provide a rational explanation for it, like a product of nature versus nurture, like he or she may or may not have come from a good or bad home, and then all that jargon, and then they have this mental disease brought on by this, that, why can't we have a good, rational explanation? Oh no, the devil made them do it. Oh.
yeah, well, like Jesse Ventura said, organized religion is for weak-minded people, and I agree, and it's totally corrupt, and it kind of, hey, you ever notice right-wing capitalist fanatics? They love this organized religion. They embrace like evangelicals, and they embrace all the zealots. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
The zealot religious fanatics. They love it. Show me a Republican, and they're always a zealot.
I mean, there are some Democrats who probably are some zealots as well. I mean, granted, probably few and far between, but I guarantee you they're out there. I mean,
Oh,
religion could
yeah.
affect anybody, regardless of what their political beliefs are.
Well, a friend of mine and I were having coffee, and there was this guy, John, who was one of those devout Catholics, and he overheard my friend saying that how come, he was talking about the corruption of the popes of the past, and he says, how come the priests are always molesting young boys, the pedophiles, but only with boys? How come, they don't go and try to bang the nuns? And then this guy got so upset. He was like, he was furious that my friend was saying anything negative about the Catholic Church. Then on the other hand, you can say the truth about Baptists or evangelicals. Let's just say
Hmm.
evangelicals, like the ones that use live rattlesnakes during their service, dancing around. The wife gets bit, she dies from rattlesnake, they're, from what I hear, they're continually doing this, or evangelical evangelists with fake sick people and disabled people coming, sitting conveniently in the front row. He puts his hands on them, they pass out, they wake up, they throw the crutch up in the air and start dancing. Hallelujah, hallelujah. I'm cured, I'm cured. Praise the Lord, I'm cured.
Yeah,
That's
there was an ICP song called Hallelujah, if you want to look this up.
Peter
Um,
Popoff. He's on YouTube.
well, getting back to what I was saying, there's a song by the Insane Clown Posse called Hallelujah. It's off the great Malenko album, and it talks about exactly what it is you're talking about. The T-evangelicals, that thing about like the 80s and 90s. Then Ozzy Osbourne took that jab at, what was it, Jimmy Swaggart? Please forgive me for I've sinned against you, my Lord. And
Yeah.
he took a jab at him.
Yeah.
He got busted. Just what a joke. But
That
one
song,
more jab at religion, and then we'll get off the
yeah,
religion
that
thing.
song will be good on progressive discussions. I gotta find it. Insane Clown Posse called Hallelujah.
Well, hallelujah,
Hell.
Hella, and then
Oh,
Luya.
oh hallelujah.
Yeah, it's off the great Malenko album. I mean, it's a great song. I mean, if you're uber religious, it's definitely going to offend you. But for people like me who aren't religious, I mean, it's like preaching to the choir. But to take one more jab at religion, not to sound like George Carlin here, I mean, I hate to say it, I really honestly don't think there's a God, and I'll tell you why. I've honestly tried, okay? I really honestly tried to think and believe that we are really made in His image and that God really loves us, but seeing how this world really is, It doesn't add up. I'm sorry. And you can't just pin it on, well, it's the devil. Earth is the devil's world. No, that doesn't quite rationally explain what's really going on. See, religion likes to always, throw a label on something, as if that's somehow going to miraculously solve a problem. That's going to somehow miraculously explain what's really going on. It's like they want to slap a band-aid on something that requires fucking stitches.
Mm.
Critical thinking is really not what religion was, because if you had a real population of real critically thinking people, religion would have been tossed to the scrap heap a long ass fucking time ago. They don't want that.
Yeah, well, how come even in a non-denominational Christian church, there are many pastors that they won't allow others to get up by the pulpit and give their testimony because it's about ego. It's about the pastor. It wants control. This is a complaint I've heard from people that go to non-denominational Christian churches, that the pastor has to be the only voice up there because it's an ego thing. It's about control. He won't let anyone else get up. Even if you have a fantastic, a powerful, true story to tell, he will not let you get up there.
Well,
So, you know,
by non-denomination, are you also including like Unitarian churches? Because I've been invited to a Unitarian church back when I used to live in Virginia.
yeah.
I mean, I got invited to a Unitarian church, and the pastor was gay, but I respectfully declined.
Well, no, I mean, like, these churches where the people, uh, they walk up to you and say, "Can I pray for you?" And they try to put their hands on you, like the ones that get all emotional and and they got to put their
Yeah,
hands up in
I've
the
had
air.
family members like that. The ones that are Pentecostal, yeah, they've tried that. I
Can I
mean,
pray for you? Can I pray? No, leave me alone. They, like they're like an antenna to God, but if they put their hands on you and I mean, some of them probably mean well, but it's annoying.
it is. I mean, religion has been one of the biggest blinders of humanity, along with capitalism. I mean, the ancient world being slavery, feudalism being the medieval world, and now capitalism being our current world. I mean, religion and politics have been one of the biggest blinders, as well as the biggest corruptors and the killers of humanity that has ever
Yeah.
existed.
Well, capitalism is like the imperialism of the past, and all the dictators, all the monarchs, just going way back to the Roman Empire. It's just the modern day version of what has been
Yeah,
and what failed. Um, uh, I, I, I really, you know what these right wing capitalist sycophants like to do is they like to
but
tell you that Scandinavia is in big trouble. They're in turmoil. I go, no, they're not. Where do you hear that from?
they're in trouble, but not economically. ISIS terrorists are starting to infiltrate into Scandinavia because it's abundantly clear that the United States, as well as imperialism, has supported ISIS. The United States has been shown that they have given vehicles as well as armaments to ISIS.
Is this so they have an excuse to perpetuate wars for profit?
Not only that, but this is what is also very interesting about ISIS. They are very different from other Islamic terrorist groups. When we look at something like Al Qaeda or any other terrorist group you can think of, what really has been the majority of fighters in their terrorist organization? It's been male extreme radical Islamists. However, what sets ISIS different apart from other radical terrorist organizations is look at how it has recruited other people that aren't Muslim and aren't Arabic.
Hmm.
Have you ever noticed that? Like, there are people that aren't Muslim and aren't Arabic fighting in the ranks of ISIS or claiming allegiance to ISIS, especially whenever they've carried out a terrorist attack. That should raise up a bunch of red flags right there, because that is so out of the norm for a radical terrorist, especially a radical Islamic terrorist organization.
Yeah.
But as we've talked about in previous videos, ISIS has the extreme Wahhabist ideology like Saudi Arabia once had. Henceforth, why you can see why Saudi Arabia and ISIS have some ties, even though they claim to be against ISIS, but yet on the surface they are backing ISIS 100%. And then here's another interesting fact about ISIS. Have you noticed ISIS does not attack Israel? They don't go anywhere near Israel. They only want to attack places like Syria that aren't necessarily bowing down to the United States' interest in capitalism and imperialism. Which makes you
Interesting.
wonder, is Saudi Arabia and Israel, as well as the United States, kind of secretly backing ISIS?
Yeah, they like to topple regimes that don't kowtow to their system of greed, government of greed, and corporatism. Seems like, yeah, like now, yeah, now it's time to really concentrate on international events.
Yeah. First
This is
thing I want to talk about is Iran and how what the United States, as well as the rest of the world, is doing to Iran is an act of war, and how this could potentially break out into war. A war that we can't afford and don't want.
yeah,
I'll give you a little background about this one. And this is why this is a very important one to talk about, because you know how Obama set down the leader of Iran and they worked out the nuclear agreement, where Iran would not
right,
pursue any kind of nuclear armament. They
right,
would be allowed to use nuclear energy for peaceful purposes. But with Trump, he's made this wild accusation that somehow Iran has violated this nuclear agreement, when there have been various members of the international community that has come in and said, no, Iran is not violating anything of this nuclear agreement. But Trump didn't want to believe it. So the United States left that nuclear peace agreement. So Iran gave the United States a chance. They tried to play nice. They probably shouldn't have, but they decided they wanted to play nice. They said, okay, fine. You don't believe that we were not in violation of this agreement? We'll give you 1 year to change your mind. Well, that year has now come and gone. The United States has not changed their mind. Trump still believes that they're in violation of this agreement. So basically, Iran has said, fuck you, Trump. We are now going to scrap this agreement. We are going to continue our pursuing of a nuclear weapon. You want to return the sanctions? You want to do this? You want to do that? Fine. It's not going to do a goddamn thing.
Dick Trump is doing this because he's kissing up to the Saudis,
And probably Netanyahu. Yeah, probably, but
who are
still.
enemies of Iran, because I think Iran is Shiite Muslim and the Saudis are Sunni, and they're not. They hate each other, and for some, yeah, because and I don't know why the United States was supporting the attack in Yemen. It seems like the Trump administration is really kissing deep rectum when it comes to the Saudi.
The Saudis and Israel like to pull on the United States' strings. They're always going to do it and always will be doing it as long as we allow it. I mean, I
Yeah,
hate the Saudis and I hate Israel. If the two went to war and destroyed each other, no skin off my bones. I really give two fucks
Yeah,
less.
well,
But God forbid, but I will not allow me or anyone else in this country to be a part of it. They want to go to war with each other, leave us the fuck out of it.
hey, Israel, what is Israel getting daily from U.S. taxes? Like $11 million a day, something like that. Some astronomical sum. I wouldn't give them one red cent.
Me neither.
Netanyahu is a
The Zionist.
yeah, and he was caught, saying things, mocking out what suckers the United States is when he thought the mic.
Just Netanyahu is one of the biggest Zionists I've ever seen. I don't know, this is probably going to piss people off, but have you noticed there is a weird connection between Zionism and Nazism? That somehow Jews are somehow this ethnically superior race? Yeah, that's right. I said the Jews are trying to act like they're their own race.
Yeah, well,
Gee, I wonder who that sounds familiar to. Well, I don't know. Hitler, the one you want to claim that killed so many millions of you?
you can't criticize Zionism because they call you anti-Semitic. Meanwhile, they control Wall Street, the big banks, entertainment industry, Hollywood, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on and on. Retail probably. They want to control every damn thing.
And you know what? If someone wants to call me anti-Semitic because I'm criticizing Israel, the Jews, and Zionism, to be honest, I could care less.
Look at Mark Zuckerberg. Well, he's a control freak. That big nose fuck. I can't stand him. He's a control freak. Spying on my private messages on Facebook Messenger and sending me a warning about his fucking community standards. Nobody has any business keeping tabs on my private conversations with friends.
I mean, so, criticizing Israel for what it's doing against genocide is wrong, and how it's ethnic genocide is, wrong. But,
Yeah,
in this upside down world, right is wrong, left is right, and this, that, and the other.
with the Palestinians, yeah, right. With that little shit ass little strip of land that they have.
hmm But then yet, I mean, I don't like religion, period. I'm an anti theist as well as an agnostic atheist, and I'm always at war with religion. I have no problem criticizing the Jews. I have no problem criticizing Muslims, and I have no problem criticizing Christians and other religions because I know exactly what kind of bullshit it is. I
Yeah.
hate to say it, Israel, you're not God's chosen people, and if push comes shove, God ain't going to save you. And all these damn terrorists that want to blow themselves up, who
Well,
want to do this in the name of Allah and claim they're going to have 72 virgins they wait in paradise, go ahead, blow yourself up.
well,
Are you going to leave just a damn hole in the ground, nothing to show for it? And all these Christians who want to say, well, you're going to go to hell for believing this way. Oh, yeah, well, too bad. There ain't no hell. There is no God, there is no devil, and there is no afterlife.
these people, the Jews today in Eastern Europe and United States, and even in Israel, these are not the ancient Israelites. And besides, according to the Bible, all of the tribes, I think there was 10 of,
Mm-hmm.
of they're all under a curse from God because they kept on turning their back on God and continued with their wicked ways. And
Henceforth, while they probably have all those Arabic countries trying to attack them.
yeah, well, that's part of the curse. But hey, maybe what Hitler did was part of the curse. But they in reality, yes, and up until the modern day descendants of these cursed ancient Israel tribes, the curse continues. And they said that the theologian said that David's throne is technically in London, England, and that's where the Rothschilds are headquartered, I think. And the United States is one. I think it's Ephraim and Manasseh. It's great. Yeah, United Kingdom and United States are modern day descendants of Ephraim and Manasseh, and the United States is under a curse because they inherited it coming from the British Empire. So the United States, forget about Kate Smith singing God Bless America. The United States has been under a curse. That's why you see all these rotten things happening. Uh, and uh, and we have they have the guy who is crazy like a fox who wants everyone to think he's slow upstairs, but he's not. Um, yeah, you know, and then Mitch McConnell is wants to really keep him there, regardless of what kind of a president he is, just because he's Republican, or maybe
Mhm.
they both have the same the same plans, and Donald Trump wants everyone to think.
Yeah, I'm just I'm so glad you brought that up because have you noticed it's like with politicians. I know this is more of a Republican thing than a Democrat thing. Not to sound like George Carlin, but have you noticed I always say like it's a damn nervous tick? God bless you and God bless America. God bless you and God bless America. I mean, I hate to say it, I don't really think God's blessed America. And I don't think he's ever going to bless America.
I think the John Philip Sousa marching band songs are part of the propaganda of brainwashing. They want people to get all happy. They're in Fourth of July, Stars and Stripes forever. Listen to all this crap, and and these people from all these parts of the country, their
Mhm.
kids are in a hurry to enlist in the military. Meanwhile, they have no idea what suckers they are for joining the military
Mhm.
nowadays. And hey, you know what? Maybe society learning the truth about extraterrestrials. Maybe it's like someone who's constipated and really is in dire need of detoxification and takes all kinds of green juices and fiber and Metamucil and just takes a huge dump. Maybe this enlightenment is what society really needs.
I
It's
mean,
like,
definitely society needs to be enlightened, but I mean, well, I'll say this one more thing, then we'll talk more about this.
let's get into international issues.
I just I'm ready to meet an extraterrestrial. Okay, I mean, I'm ready to meet someone off this planet who is not of this planet who would come here to help us advance. For all we know, maybe it would take an extraterrestrial intervention to bring in socialism. Because for all we know, there may be some kind of extraterrestrial civilization out there who's already achieved socialism or even communism for that matter.
You
And
know,
honestly, who knows?
befriending extraterrestrials, let's say the Greys.
Hmm.
Greys. Okay, everybody knows what the Greys look like. Like
Right.
the Roswell crash or whatever. Hey, befriending the Greys and having a meeting with them and say, look, we're in trouble. The planet Earth, humanity is in trouble. We're asking for your help. Could you help us with like, let's say, medical science? I'm sure the Greys could cure a vast amount of diseases that people are suffering from, and including paralyzed victims, disabled people, uh, Alzheimer's, cancer. That they could eradicate, just by befriending a superior race from, let's say, the Andromeda galaxy that can help us in a positive way,
Hmm.
not like to take everything and make weapons out of it like mankind has a tendency of doing.
I mean, that's what the Nazis did. I mean, there was extraterrestrial intervention with the Nazis. I mean, why do you think there were so many expeditions of Antarctica by the Nazis? Because there are alien civilizations that live here on Earth, and they live in Antarctica, and they also live under the Earth, and yet
Sub,
they also live on the moon.
subterranean. Yes,
Hmm.
the moon is very possible. The moon is hollow, or the moon can be an a hidden extraterrestrial space station, and or they could listen. Antarctica, they have seen UFOs going into holes at the top of Antarctic mountains, like in tunnels that were at the top of these mountains that are starting to be exposed because of global warming.
There are entrances here to the center of the Earth, here on the surface of the Earth. And in fact, there is one that is actually near me. It's up in Kentucky called Mammoth Cave, Kentucky. It has a it has a whole underground reservoir system that actually goes to the center of the Earth. And in fact, that is one way you can get to the center there, is if you go through Mammoth Cave, Kentucky.
Hey, look at the Sasquatch. They could very well be aliens because they have a tendency to appear and then vanish. Interdimensional travel,
Hmm.
portals. I mean, that's the only practical way extraterrestrials can, intergalactically travel, is to, utilize wormholes and interdimensional travel. So it's very possible that these shadow people that some individuals see in their homes, uh, that psychics say, well, they were never alive. They're not spirits. They're not demons. We're not sure what they are. We call them shadow people. They could be also extraterrestrial race,
Hmm.
Sasquatch, whatever. Boom, they're here. You see them, and then when you go look for them, you never find them.
Hmm.
So the plesiosaurs, the Loch Ness monster, the one in Lake Champlain. There's one in the Chesapeake Bay called in Maryland called Chessie. They call it. Yeah, like they all look the same. They're plesiosaurs, but when they go and search for them with high technology and sonar, they never find them. It could be a time portal where they're coming from, 100 million years ago. All of a sudden, boom, they're in Loch Ness, and then they go back. They exit back through the time portal again. That's
Yeah,
one.
I'm sure extraterrestrials have all sorts of technology,
Yeah,
whether it be interdimensional, time travel, things like that. I guarantee you they've got it.
yeah,
But I'm glad you brought that up because getting back to what I was saying, yeah, the Nazis actually had contact with extraterrestrial civilizations that are actually here on Earth. They had contact with the I don't know what particular race they're called because I'm drawing a blank, but basically they look like Nordic people. I think they actually call them just the Nords.
the Nords. Well, the Soviets had many reverse engineering from alien crashes too, in Siberia or different. I mean, look at ancient Indian Sanskrit. They talk about a a a device, an anti-gravity device in ancient Indian
Yeah.
Sanskrit, which is a sphere with a gyroscope and liquid mercury inside. And the faster the gyroscope spins and whips around, it creates anti-gravity. Now,
Hmm. The Nazis actually sent other Nazi Party officials to India to not only study those scripts, but to actually reverse engineer the technologies that were in those scripts.
yeah, I mean, why would an ancient civilization have an anti-gravity device if they did not get help from above?
Well, it's not necessarily that ancient civilizations had these technologies, it's just they were exposed to these technologies, and that's why people revered them as gods.
Yeah,
Because, for example, okay, let's say we go back 1,000 years. And someone from our time goes back 1,000 years to medieval time. they would look at us as gods because of what technology we have. We showed them a cell phone. We showed them a computer. Or hell, we even showed them a gun. Like, a semi automatic rifle or a semi automatic handgun or a pump action shotgun. They would view us as gods because we have technology far beyond even their comprehension.
Any flying device to an ancient civilization, they would consider them gods or angels, or any fiery object rapidly traveling in the sky, to going back like a few thousand years,
Hmm.
or even whatever, 10,000 years. You know,
And I'm also glad you brought that up because in the ancient Indian Sanskrit texts, it also shows nuclear warfare that actually happened here on Earth between extraterrestrial civilizations. And in
uh,
fact, the Nazis were so close to developing a nuclear weapon. Where do you think they got it from?
well, they came very close. They already
Had had the Soviets and the United States not beat the Nazi Empire when they did, probably by about 1947, 1948, they would have had a nuclear weapon.
Japan had jet aircraft towards the very end of the war. I think Mitsubishi made their aircraft
Hmm.
Zeros, but they had jets hidden in Japan. They had just like the Germans had the jets. And Werner von Braun, he played a huge role for NASA, and they got
Hmm.
Werner von Braun. I mean, the Soviets got some German scientists, but Werner von
We
Braun,
got the bulk of it.
we got the bulk. Werner von Braun was NASA at that time.
And I'm also glad you brought that up because we're going to get more into international affairs. Have you noticed that ever since Germany has reunified that the East is still treated horribly as compared to the West?
Really?
Yeah, like even though the country is now unified, and I use that term loosely, West Germans still look down upon East Germans, even though the country is now supposed to be unified, even though there's not even anything remotely related to socialism or communism still left in East Germany.
Isn't Berlin in East Germany?
Well, Berlin is like in that middle ground.
Okay.
And I'm glad you brought that up because this is one thing that socialists and communists get slapped in the face with is the Berlin Wall. That it's this symbol of oppression. It's this and that. That there's no way it really could have been the anti-fascist barrier that the East Germans wanted to make it out to be. Oh, contraire. And in fact, I'm going to use their own history against them. Okay, after World War II ended and Germany was divided you know, the the United States and capitalism in the West, and then the Soviet satellite state in the East, a lot of government officials were ex-Nazi Party members in West Germany. And they saw exactly how that was going to turn out for East Germany, so they built that wall because they knew that there was going to be some kind of attack against East Germany.
Interesting.
So yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
when I
Oh,
hear stupid bullshit like that, it's just look at history. And even still today, I guarantee you there are ex-Nazi Party officials still in government in Germany. Because it's not that hard to erase your affiliation with the Nazi Party, especially if you weren't necessarily that high-ranking of an official like Hermann Goering or Joseph Goebbels or Heinrich Himmler.
yeah. Oh,
And what makes it more insulting is the United States perpetuated it. Because I guarantee you, they probably said to those lower Nazi Party officials, they said, "Oh, okay. Well, since you're not really that high-ranking of an official, you may or may not have participated in crimes committed by higher Nazi Party officials. We'll give you blank immunity in exchange for X, this, and this. All you got to do is testify against them, and then we'll give you a government position in West Germany." I guarantee you that fucking shit happened. Because that's what they do. to people that are in the mob, the mafia, or even various gangs. It's really no different.
Oh, by the way, Werner von Braun used to discuss extraterrestrials quite often.
Hmm.
He believed in them, and he says that he himself got help, and even uh, uh, Nikola Tesla uh, has, while he was sleeping, received all of the information that he used for his inventions. Mysteriously received them.
And
Tesla,
I'm
yeah.
glad you. I'm also glad you brought that up because this is one thing we'll touch on as well. Is I get this question of what really are dreams, and I can tell you exactly what dreams are. Dreams are a very complex part of the human brain. When you're asleep, you unlock your subconscious. Your subconscious is 30,000 times more powerful than your surface conscious.
Is that what they call REM sleep? The deepest.
Yeah, when you go into sleep. Now, this is what is very interesting. While although I may not believe in a god or a devil or an afterlife, human beings are very interesting beings. And here's what we are capable of when we are asleep and we unlock our subconscious. Our subconscious actually unlocks the other 90% of our brain. That is why we can have such very vivid as well as lucid dreams that may not really make sense on the surface. Now that's the first level of it. Is it helps you unlock a much deeper understanding of the left brain and the right brain. Now the second level, astral projection. Why is it you think that you have like this almost like out of body experience or you experience sleep paralysis when you're asleep?
My grandfather practiced that because my grandfather worked with Edgar Casey in Virginia Beach when he was
Hmm.
young. The Sleeping Prophet. He did astral projection, and you can travel through the universe. Uh,
We'll get on to that. That's the third level, but
yeah,
continue.
yeah.
All right.
He told me stories of what happened to him. That you have to make a long story short, you have to get back to your original body within a specified amount of time. Like you can't be flying around the world or the universe like for as long as you want. You have to return, but there's a certain process, a certain meditative state that he went under. It took time for him to do this, and once he got to the point where he was able to elevate out of his body, see himself in bed, look around the room, and then
Hmm.
fly wherever he wanted to go.
All
In
right.
this case, throughout the universe, he landed on a planet, and he said he heard a voice because he saw something malevolent, something evil was lurking behind a rock on a planet, and he heard a voice saying, "Return to your body immediately. Do not tangle with that entity."
And why do you think the CIA has, recently declassified documents about astral projection? Because what they've done is, why do you think we've not been back to the moon? Because there are alien bases that are on the dark side of the moon that have actually run us off of the moon and don't want us coming back.
Well, there's images of unnatural structures that are on the.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
have.
So what the CIA did was they hired people that were, more inclined to be those that can astro project. And what they would do is they would astro project themselves here on Earth up to the moon to observe the dark side of the moon in alien bases.
Hmm.
So that's the second level. Now, the third level, this is the hardest one to achieve. The third part of dreams is where you astro project, but yet you don't realize that you have, but you have either gone backwards or forwards in time, or you have also gone to another parallel universe or another dimension, so to speak.
Interesting.
I'll give you an example. The other night, I had a very interesting dream. Like the dream was I lived my day ahead of what I was supposed to, and when I woke up, I'm like, that was weird. But then yet, the way my day played out was exactly how it happened in my dream. I was like, that's freaky. And then there's instances of where like stuff seems familiar, but at the same time, it's not. Example: I've had other dreams where I know it's me, but my surroundings aren't the way they're supposed to. Like something is off. Like, it's either a different time or it's a different place. And I know it's not this universe. So dreams can actually help you experience yourself in another time or even another parallel universe.
Fascinating.
So, yes, time travel does exist. You can go to the past or to the future. You can go to parallel universes, and you can also astro project. So, yes, all of that is real.
Yeah, they say the universe is curved like a U. It's and wormholes are the only practical way you can intergalactically travel fast, because didn't Einstein say that the human being cannot travel at the speed of light? Something bad will happen to them. You know,
Well, it's not necessarily that something bad will happen. I'll elaborate on this. Yes, I see that. Hang on just one second, Wayne, okay? So, what you have to understand is this thing called time dilation, how time is relative to something. You ever seen the movie Interstellar?
no.
Okay, if if you don't know what I'm talking about, then I'll shed some light. But to better understand what I'm talking about, watch Interstellar. So there is such a thing called time dilation, how time is relative. Example: time here on Earth is this time. Now take time up in the International Space Station above Earth. Now, time is not going to be not that much different because we're not really traveling at the speed of light. We're traveling like, not even anywhere remotely near the speed of light. But they are traveling faster enough to where time will be a little bit faster up there than what it will be on here. It's very minute. It's like maybe less than a second, if that. So there is a time difference between here on Earth and here up in space. Now, to get more into what Einstein talked about, the faster you go towards the speed of light, that is when time will speed up relative to you compared to the rest of the universe. Now, you don't really notice a big time difference until you hit 70% the speed of light. So when you hit 70% the speed of light, that's when time starts to dilate. In the movie Interstellar, they went on this planet that's near a black hole. I think it's called Gargantua or something like that. And 1 hour on that planet is like X amount of years up on that spacecraft. Like they were only on that planet for an hour, and their friend up in the spacecraft that was still up there near this planet in this black hole, they aged years. So when you hit 70% the speed of light, that is when time will go faster for you than what is relative to you.
Ah,
So humans can get safely probably to about 70 to 80% the speed of light. Now, getting that 81% to 100% is going to be the hardest part. But here's what's also interesting. If you go faster than the speed of light, time goes backwards.
Wow. How about that?
It's a very interesting phenomenon. To kind of put it in layman's terms, time is relative to the speed of light. But if you somehow beat the speed of light and you beat that curvature or that straight line, you could theoretically go backwards in time. That's where the whole entire wormhole theory comes from. Either bending it backwards on space time to go back or bending it forward to go forward in time.
So if you can literally come back 20, 30, 50 years into the past.
You could. Now, whether you could time travel and actually either interact or observe, that's kind of up in the air. Now I get this question, well, if you can't go back in time, then how do you go forward in time to go back in time? If you just keep going forward, how can you go back to your own time? Simple. Keep going forward until you find a time where they discovered backwards time travel, and then go back. I mean, it's not that hard.
They had a Twilight Zone episode where they were in the aircraft and they hit major turbulence and they ended up back in prehistoric times. And you saw the low budget dinosaurs munching on, yeah. And then they went back again. They turned around and went back into the turbulence.
Mm-hmm.
And then they still weren't back to their the modern times. They were in which was the early 1960s. Rod Serling. They were.
Yeah, and then to elaborate more on time travel, and in fact, our government has dabbled in time travel, so to speak. You ever heard of a name called Andrew Bashago?
No.
Okay. Jesse Ventura and Conspiracy Theory did their own special on this. They interviewed this guy by the name of Andrew Bashago, and he claims to be an actual time traveler. And in a nutshell, he claimed that he was part of Project Pegasus. And Project Pegasus was where they sent children back in time or sent them forward in time to gather information. He claims that he went back in time to the American Revolution and helped George Washington win the American Revolution. He claims that he has gone back to the Civil War, and actually he claims that there's a photographic evidence of him actually being in Gettysburg. I forget the name of this photo, but child in Gettysburg. I mean, if you look at him, he looks so out of place. Because when they snapped this picture, there was no such thing as Photoshop back in this time. And when you look at this picture, he claims that he is this boy that is in this picture in Gettysburg. It's unclear what his purpose was going back in that time, but he claims that I was that boy in that Gettysburg picture. And then he's claimed that he's gone back in time to see the crucifixion of Christ. He's claimed that he's gone forward in time where aliens invade Earth, that they've helped us advance as a species, and this, that, and the other. Whether it's really true or not, I don't know. I mean, he has very believable stories because, I mean, where this would fall apart is if there's no photographic evidence, but he points to only one photographic evidence of him being a time traveler. That's what sets this apart from other claims.
Right. In other words, did he ever go back in time where there is a photograph of him as an adult? So, that
No.
shows some evidence.
Well, he claims he was only in this project for X amount of years, that when they reached a certain age, they stopped putting kids through time travel because they, I guess, outwore their usefulness. Because what they would send them back in time for is they figured that children would be very resourceful, that they would give them a simple task to go back in time and to do this, and they would just do it. Whereas maybe a teenager or an adult may question or may not do what it is they're supposed to do. So I think when he reached 12 or 13, they pulled him from the program. But this is where it gets even more bizarre. He claims that the United States has had time travel for so many years. And what they did was they would go backwards and forwards in time to plan future wars and prep future presidents. He claims that in 1973, in the Project Pegasus room, they had photos of the Twin Towers being attacked in 1973, that they somehow went forward to 9/11, 2001 to get these photographs to bring back to plan their war 28 years in advance.
Hmm.
It gets really, really wild.
And of course, True TV or higher powers had that show canceled. The FEMA camps, I think, was the first show to get pulled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had all the plastic caskets all piled up, the barbed wire, and yeah, that was the first show to get pulled. And I told on Facebook, I told True TV's, I wrote something on True TV's Facebook page. They should not call themselves True TV.
I remember back when it used to be called Court TV, they changed it, what was it, 2007 or 2008? I don't really watch TV anymore.
I mean, I just watch like CNN. I watch documentaries, History Channel, or National Geographic or whatever, Travel Channel. I like documentaries. Reality shows are getting ridiculous now. They're making a reality show out of every damn thing.
Oh Lord!
I mean, now this one called Butcher. That's the new one, where butchers compete to see who can prepare their carcass and cut it up the fastest. That's the new one.
Mm-hmm.
But I do find amusement with the moonshiners.
Oh.
And then there's what do you call it? The ginseng. They even have one with the
ginseng wars in West Virginia.
Yeah, the ginseng.
Oh Lord.
The ginseng dudes. Because ginseng likes the shade. They like them very low light. And yeah, they know exactly how to go and hunt them, and then they make a lot of money from it. American ginseng.
Yeah, ginseng likes to grow wild in the mountains. I mean, West Virginia is a ginseng gold mine.
Really?
Yeah.
So latitude in certain states that are mountainous are probably equivalent to where ginseng normally grows in Asia.
I don't really know what the elevation is. I know here in Kingsport, our elevation is still in the 1000s. Now you go up into Virginia, it's going to be like in your 2000s. Now there are some parts in West Virginia where you might go up in like the 3000s, somewhere in that area. And I will tell you, there are parts of West Virginia that actually do look nice. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there are mountains in West Virginia that are just absolutely beautiful. The wildlife there is beautiful. But the people that live out there in the sticks or in the boonies or outside of civilization, stay the hell away from them.
They're inbred, right? Pretty
Yep.
much.
I mean, I've been throughout West Virginia. I mean, I've been through various parts of it, but there's a stretch when if you're on I-64 leaving Lexington, Kentucky, and you're going towards Charleston, West Virginia, and you're going from like Charleston to Beckley, that stretch of I-64, nuh-uh. There's no cell service, and it is dark. You can't, if you're in a vehicle and you have to get out, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face.
Wow.
Like out here where we live, we had a really bad snowstorm, and there's this Jeep that lives on the street that's just right across the way from us. When we had our power out and he was coming out this way, you could see him for miles. He was the only source of light for miles. You could see them.
Uh,
But it is nice and peaceful out here. As I was telling you before, there's a mountain here in the city of Kingsport. It's called Bays Mountain, and they have their own wildlife reserve as well as a planetarium. And on a clear night out here, and it's a full moon, you can hear those wolves howling up on Bays Mountain. It's kind of cool, but yet kind of creepy.
yeah, there's gray wolves. I know in Arizona, probably even New Mexico. Because I know they're not timber wolves. They're in the south. They call them gray wolves. You have a species of wolf in Tennessee and Kentucky.
I think we do, but a lot of the wolves are domesticated, bred in captivity.
Yeah, they're probably not like the big timber wolves from the Canadian Rockies and.
I mean, you can go to Bays Mountain and you can go to the wolf sanctuary. I mean, the wolves are very friendly, and in fact, there's really only one major difference between wolves and dogs. When there was the split, so to speak, between what really makes a wolf, and a dog,
They don't bark.
no, actually, wolves and dogs bark, both howl, both have the same personalities, both have the same intelligence, but there's only one thing that really separates them apart is their interaction with humans. Dogs domesticated themselves with humans. Wolves did not. So the fact that we have a domesticated wolf or wolves up on Bays Mountain, they're kind of out of their norm, so to speak. Wolves aren't really social and interactive creatures with humans. They like to stick more with themselves,
Right.
whereas dogs aren't.
Well, if dogs become feral, they reassume the pack
Hmm.
hierarchy with the alpha female, the alpha male. You know, they. I think the alpha. I forgot if it's the alpha male is at the end to look
Yeah,
after the
I,
older
yeah, I
wolf.
know what you're talking about. The alpha male goes in the back, make sure no one's left behind. But if there's ever a challenge between one alpha male and the other alpha male, the alpha female will actually protect the alpha male. What she will do is when they both start growling and they have their hair standing and they do their alpha male show off, what the alpha female will do is she will actually put herself underneath the alpha male's neck to protect him in combat. So I guess you could say that really in some ways wolves have like this understanding of equality, because if the alpha male dies in combat, then the alpha female now has to take on the role of the alpha male, and the alpha female will actually fight the other alpha male to ensure that even she does not become overcome by the other alpha male.
And people will find this hard to believe, but when I used to have bearded dragon lizards, right? You
Hmm.
know, they're not solitary. They're social.
Hmm.
There's actually an alpha female bearded dragon and an alpha male, and the way the females appease the alphas, they wave. They'll lift their hand up like this, and they'll do this.
Hmm.
And at first, I thought it was strange until I found out what it was. It was waving. The females were waving to me, so I was the alpha. The male lizards, like they do push-ups. You know, either territorial or appeasing the alpha male. It's interesting. I mean,
And it's the same way with cats. I mean, cats were the first animal to voluntarily domesticate themselves with humans.
yeah, cat. Well, a cat, a bobcat, and a lynx look very much like a domesticated cat in a lot of ways.
They do. But here's what makes a domestic house cat a little bit different from like a bobcat, a panther, a lynx, or even a tiger is, they domesticated themselves with humans while the others did not. So here's one thing that cats had to do as an evolutionary trait to domesticate themselves with humans is they used to have a much higher pitched meow, and humans could not hear that really high pitched meow. Other cats could, but humans could not. So what they actually had to do was, in order to communicate with other humans, they had to lower their pitch of meow and actually get it in our hertz hearing range, because it used to be like 25,000, which is well out of what a human ear can hear.
You know what I noticed? A
What?
Siamese cat sounds like a crying baby. A Siamese cat has a distinctive meow that is
Mhm.
very different from other cats, domestic cat species, different from the tabbies and it's like a it, it's very different. It's very distinctive. You know, they say a Siamese cat has the most dog-like personality
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
all.
We've got three cats. We've got a tabby named Gigabyte. His full name is Gigabyte G1 Gaming. The reason why we named it Gigabyte G1 Gaming is my wife has a G1 Gaming Gigabyte graphics card in her gaming computer, and what we did was we bought the cats. The male was supposed to have taken up with me, and the female was supposed to have taken up with her, but actually, the exact opposite happened. The female took up with me, the male took up with her. And Gigabyte, he's a very interesting cat because he has this very interesting meow. He always goes like, meow. I mean, he loves the attention. He loves the pets. He loves all the attention. And in fact, whenever I was asleep the other morning, I didn't realize I forgot to feed them. He literally got up on me and got right in my ear and went, Dad! And I was like, oh, Lord. Now, the female cat that was supposed to have taken up with my wife, but ended up taking up with me, her name is Pixel. And the reason why we call her Pixel is she's a tortie, and you know how torties have like that really interesting, unique color scheme going on with their fur? Well, with her, she has this little spot on her nose that looks like a pixel, so therefore we just call her Pixel. She's more of she's stubborn, she's independent, does things on her terms. Does not like to be picked up, does not like to really be cuddled or things like that. If you want to pet her, basically you sit on the couch, let her sit on top of the couch, and you just pet her that way.
Yeah.
But she loves to always feed herself. I mean, she is like so. I call her the angry goth kitty because she looks like a goth cat, but she always has like this frumpy look on her face.
Yeah, not she won't jump on your lap and get on her back and say, pet me, rub my belly. Not that she's not that kind of cat.
I mean, if you pick her up and pet her for maybe a minute or so, she's okay with it for about a minute. And then after that, she wants down. Uh, Picking her up and then like holding her close, forget that. What she will do is she will pin her ears back and then hide her face, and then she will like hide her tail, and she'll get very agitated.
Yeah, they have different personalities. That's just how they
And
are.
then we have a third cat, which we adopted from some owners that couldn't take care of her anymore. Her name is Ocean. She's a long-haired calico Maine Coon. I mean,
That's a big cat. A Maine Coon is a big species.
well, compared to other female Maine Coons, she's on the small side, but her size is primarily her fluff. I mean, she's a very fluffy cat. She has very long hair. But what makes her very interesting is her face is literally two different colors. One side of her face is pitch black. The other side of her face is like orange and white. She's literally two-faced.
Oh wow.
She's more of the prissy, sassy. and she wants attention, and she'll bitch at you. You can just look at her and she'll go, "Meow, meow," and
Yeah,
she hisses more.
you know, when back in the 1980s, I had two tabbies. One
Hmm.
was gray and one was red,
Hmm.
and they would let me know if their litter box was not spotless. Like if there was anything in there, they would nag the hell out of me and go up to the litter box and look in it and until I scooped the shit in the toilet bowl. And then the red one, when I used to take a shower, she used to swat the shower curtain off there. She'd be
Pixel used to do that until one day she hopped in the shower and got wet.
ah. Then there was a brr, brr, brr. I'm in bed and like, hey, my crotch is doing this.
Oh, kneading.
Yeah, I mean, and then you know they want to sleep with you in the head, and it's a brr, 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 and I says,
Oh, the purring. All
yeah,
right.
but it was like right here. I
The
said,
purring is a very interesting aspect of cats because people automatically assume just because a cat is purring, they're somehow happy. No, there's different reasons why a cat can purr. A cat primarily purrs because they're happy, but yet a cat can purr because they're also agitated, annoyed, or they're mad.
interesting.
Now, another interesting thing, if you want to understand cats, is the tail. Don't necessarily pay attention to their face or their meow. Pay attention to their tail because their tail does not lie.
Yeah, they like when a cat does this with their tail, right to left. That means is they're about to do something. Like they're getting excited or they're focusing on something, right? When they do
Um,
the side twitch.
Here's some basic understandings of the cat's tail. Okay, if it's pointing straight up and it's like pointing outward, like it's pointing straight, not necessarily straight out, but like comes up to like a curve, almost like a point. When a cat does that, what they're doing is if you like go or you make like a purr, or you just have your hand down, when they do that, that means they're pointing at you and they're saying, "Hey, I'm friendly. Are you?" Because Gigabyte does that all the time. All right, now when the cat starts moving its tail back and forth, now depending upon the speed of which they do it, varies. If they're doing it very slow, like Pixel and Ocean will do it as they're walking, it just means that, they're just aware of their environment. They're just watching what's going on. Now, when it starts speeding up and it starts going left to right really fast, that means they're getting agitated, they're getting revved up. They'll do that a lot of times when they play.
Right. Now the whiskers I find interesting because they have like a long eyelash. Like it's not only here that they have these long whiskers. They have them like all over their face.
Hmm. They have a very interesting and very heightened sense of smell as well as taste.
Do you think those whiskers all over their face are for navigating nocturnally?
A cat is a very good hunter. I know they say that, coyotes and wolves are the most dangerous hunters. No, actually, in fact, the most dangerous and best hunters are cats.
I saw a cat make bird calls to try to bait wild birds.
Oh, yeah, it's called charming. Pixel will sit up here in our window and she'll do it. It's very interesting. Some cats will charm, some won't, but it's like what they're doing is they're mimicking the sound of the bird to try to draw it closer to it, and then once they see the opportune moment, they attack it.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's what they do. They're masters at stealth. I guess their objective is to try to sneak up on the prey, as close as they can.
Well, they're not as good at stealth as what you might think. I mean, if you don't make any noise, or you just make so very little noise, they really don't pay attention to it. 'Cause there's been times where they've been sitting up here in the window, and I've made extremely very little noise, and I've snuck up on them and got them.
Yeah,
So I guess maybe if they're not really all that focused, they pay more attention to noise. But if they're like focused or observing, the external sounds of the environment just kind of go by the wayside. Because like they have all heightened senses, but yet when one becomes more heightened than the other, one just kind of gets pushed to the passive background.
I saw in a documentary of how jaguars actually would stalk a caiman and get right in the water and bite it in the back of the neck or by the skull, and pull the caiman out of the water. Well, a caiman is not, like the size of a crocodile or an alligator, but they're smaller versions. But yeah, the jaguar has, like, I think the strongest bite, or one of the strongest bites. Um, Now, mountain lions, cougars are also in the Andes. I didn't realize it till I saw it on a documentary. They're in South America in the mountains down there. They look exactly the same.
Oh yeah. Um, but from an evolutionary standpoint, getting back to the evolutionary standpoint, is that's one thing that humans really don't understand about cats is while although they are mammals just like dogs, there's one thing that actually still kind of keeps them to the lower mammalian brain and more into the reptilian brain as compared to other mammals. Have you noticed when cats hiss, what does it sound like?
Snake.
Yes, that's the reptilian part of their brain. That did not go away when cats evolved. But I guarantee you other animals had that as well when they still live more in the reptilian brain. But for some reason, just that one aspect of cat still stays in the reptilian brain.
Well, they showed, talking about evolution, they showed how cats and dogs, feline, canine, were first evolved from this ferret looking creature
Hmm.
um, in Africa. Of course, going towards South Africa, because supposedly that was the first uh, portion of the planet Earth that actually cooled down, and it looked like a ferret, and some evolved to be a cat, and some evolved to be dog. So
Hmm.
um, I've played with ferrets today, and this looked exactly the same as the one in the documentary that was prehistoric.
Hmm.
They're uh, yeah, badgers, wolverines, minks. Yeah, they're all in that family.
And then here's another interesting evolutionary aspect that is different in both cats and dogs. All right. So the way you communicate with your body language with cats and dogs is also very different. All right. So the way you communicate with a cat is you know how they always say with a dog, don't ever put your hand over a dog that is viewed as aggression?
Yeah, above. Always go underneath.
Yes. With a cat, it's the opposite. Whenever you go up with a cat, you have your hand out and over them. And what you do is you hold out your index finger and you hold it near their nose. And what they do is They sniff your index finger. And then here's what they do next. You pay attention to what they do with their head. If they like tilt it downward toward the index finger, that means they are giving you permission to pet them. Now, if they kind of like draw back, that means they don't want to be petted. Now, with dogs, what you do is you can do the exact same thing, but what you do is you hold your index finger to their nose, and they kind of do the same thing. What they do is they will actually take your finger and like flip it up, and then it will just kind of like plop back down on their head. Then you can pet them.
Or you can just wait for them to come over and sniff you and decide if they like you or not.
Yeah, that's one thing you can do. Or the next thing you can do is you can hold out your palm like you're trying to grab something, like maybe like grab like an apple or an orange or something from a tree. If you hold it out like that, they naturally will come over unless they're feral.
Yeah, there's some. Yeah, that's the whole problem with the feral cats, domesticated feral cats, is once they have that ingrained in their mind, it's very suspicious and leery of human presence, and skittish, and well, because they have to be, because they're feral. Yeah, sometimes you can't. I mean, some feral kittens can come around, but you know,
And
once.
then another way you communicate with cats and dogs differently is with a cat, what they will do is a lot of times when they want attention, they'll either meow and walk towards you, or they will rub up against your leg. They'll either take their head, tilt to the side, like kind of like bunt their head up against you, or they'll rub the side of their body up against you, and then they'll conclude by like brushing their tail on you. Now, what this means when a cat does this is they actually are spraying their scent on you.
Well, the males,
Now,
forget it.
females and males and females do it.
Oh, they do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
both do it. Um, that's usually when they're kind of like saying hello, but they're also marking you as their territory. Now, another thing that also means is they also, when they do that, they mean that they're marking it as safe. Like, this is a safe place to go. We don't have to worry. Now, a dog is much different. A dog relies more upon, their sense of smell. They rely more upon what's safe and what's not as compared to smell. Cats, they just do it observical.
Okay. Yeah. So dogs are much more dependent on scent
Uh huh.
and cats.
And here's one thing that if you really want to communicate with your cat and really like become much more closer with your cat, is whenever they're sitting down, like let's say they're sitting on like the back of a chair or like the back of a couch, here's what you do. You sit down in their proximity. If they don't want to be around you, they'll just get up and leave. But if they sit there, you
Mhm.
can kind of like, do what I was telling you with the finger or just like, pet them. But if you really want to show that you all are close, take your head, tilt to the side, and butt up against theirs.
Hmm.
Depending upon the cat, it'll have mixed reactions. Like a Gigabyte, he really doesn't like it, but Pixel and Ocean, they like it.
Wonder why cheetahs don't have retractable claws. I wonder how that came about. That's interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, hmm. I guess they're capturing their prey is totally in their bite, because they
Hmm.
can't grab their prey with claws. Nah.
Yeah, there's one more thing that we can talk about, and then I'm gonna
Yeah.
wrap it up.
Yeah. Let's wrap
Um,
it up.
there is one more thing I do want to talk about. Is I want to talk more about Israel and what their current plan is and what they're trying to propose for peace. All right, so here recently, Israel has proposed this idea, so to speak, on how to make peace with not only Palestine but the rest of the Arabic world, and it's just being ridiculed and laughed at. I mean, everything Netanyahu does, he's making himself look more and more illegitimate than what he already is. I mean, I hate to say it, and people can get pissed at me all they want, but Israel's not legitimate. Netanyahu's not legitimate. And every time he tries something, he just makes himself look that much more illegitimate, as well as the state of Israel.
Okay.
So his plan of, I hate to say it, I don't necessarily think Palestinians are really ready to accept peace with Israel. It's not going to happen. Israel has committed too much ethnic genocide against Palestinians to really want peace for all of that. It's a slap in the face. It's an extreme insult. What I'm waiting to happen is Iran finally get a nuclear weapon, they point it at Israel, and then the rest of the Arabic world just attacks Israel and overthrows it. I'm waiting for it to happen. It's going to happen. And there's nothing that the United States or Israel or anybody else in the world can do to stop it. I mean, it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're like, I just can't stand any lobbying group that demands special treatment, and they're one of them. You know, they're one of them, and then they, it's it, yeah. I'm with you on your well, your daydream of what should happen.
Yeah. I mean, there was a plan to have two separate states of Israel and Palestine, but Israel rejected it and the United States rejected it. I mean, if there really was going to be any kind of peace between the two countries, that would have been it. I mean, even though it's stolen land, that would have been any kind of peace agreement between the two countries. That would have been it, and they ignored it.
Yeah.
So, Israel has pissed off way too many people in this world. Like, what few allies Israel had here recently, they've turned their backs on them. They said, no, we're not supporting you. In fact, if anything, we're going to be against you. And I can hear those evangelical Christians, oh, this pitting against Israel is the coming of the Antichrist. Oh yeah? So turning against ethnic genocide is the coming of the Antichrist. How? And why this is a bad thing? How? Because last time I checked, according to your religion and your holy text, God is supposed to be against murder. Well, God's chosen people are committing ethnic genocide. That's murder. So the fact that the world is turning on murderers is a bad thing. Shows how warped of logic you all really have.
Yeah, like the warped of logic of the right to life nuts.
Oh
Zealot.
yeah, the
Yeah.
right to lifers. Oh, don't even get me started on these right to
Yeah, but
lifers.
if you're a fertilized egg, or yeah, if you're in the womb, they fight like hell to save you. But once the baby's born, they can care less about.
Exactly. Oh well, they care. They could really care less until they reach 18. Military age. That's when they are just exactly what they're looking for. That's when they care all about you.
Oh yeah,
George Carlin said they want live babies to raise them to be dead soldiers. Plain and simple. Live babies to be dead soldiers.
you know what they tell these kids that want to apply for a grant? I don't know if it's a Pell Grant, to go to school. They go, oh, it's mandatory that you register for the draft, otherwise you cannot apply for any government job training grant of any kind.
That's bull because guess what? When I went to go apply for college, I automatically got signed up for the draft. So yeah, that's a bunch of bull. Because even if you don't necessarily sign up when you turn 18, they'll eventually automatically sign you up for it.
Really?
There's only X amount of time that they've got. I mean, hell, there's people they've gotten years later after trying to avoid being signed up for the draft, and they've still got them. So I mean, they're going to get you eventually. Because yeah, whenever I went to go sign up for college, immediately I got auto signed up for the draft.
Interesting.
That was immediately what I was told in the admissions office. Said, well, you're 18, you're applying for college, we automatically got to sign you up for the draft. And even if I would have left that right then and there and not gone to college, they still would have signed me up.
And then your only choice would be to be a conscientious objector, and like Muhammad Ali did, Cassius Clay.
Yeah. Yeah, these pro-lifers, they just
Yeah, fertilize egg. Now you have these evangelical zealot states. Now talk about something that's
like
applicable,
Alabama and Georgia.
like Alabama.
Oh, don't worry, because Alabama's law, a federal judge blocked it, so it's not going into law. And Georgia's law, give it time, that will also be blocked.
Yeah. Evangelical zealot religious. Forget about nuts. Freaks. I'm going to call them freaks from now on.
I mean, I know that this whole entire thing is about Roe v. Wade. I mean, I hate to say it, I really don't think there's going to be a way that Trump is going to clear another seat on the Supreme Court. Yeah, he got one through, but as heated and as pro-choice as America is, even if they were to repeal Roe v. Wade, yeah, you would have these states that would push through things like this, but it would quickly backfire.
Yeah, I always tell people a fertilized human egg
It's just a potential life.
is just a potential life. It's no more a baby than an acorn is an oak tree.
Exactly. I mean, this is what I was telling you about that pro-life Christian lesbian nut job. I mean, I as a male should not have to explain science and anatomy of a female body to another female. I really honestly that is not my job. That is not in my job description as a male. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a scientist. I should not have to be doing this. But I had to step up to the plate and do this, and even still then it did not compute.
You got to talk about the birds and the bees to about women to a woman.
No, I didn't go that far. I basically what I just said was, you know, do you not understand the pro-choice position? Because I said a true pro-choicer is going to stand by a woman's decision regardless of what it is. All right? So if she wants to keep the baby, which a lot of women do, there's not a lot of women out there who just go and get abortions willy-nilly, although they are out there, but it's few and far between.
All these young kids getting knocked up, they keep the baby. They want to ride the gravy train.
Exactly. So it's like, even though they probably shouldn't keep the baby, as a pro-choicer, we do have an obligation to support the woman's decision. If she wants to keep it, then whatever she deems necessary for her health and the baby's health, or if she wants to defend herself and the baby to ensure that she becomes a mother, then who are we to say no? But
Yeah.
yeah, at the same time, if that same woman decides that she's run into severe health problems, that she can't deliver the baby full term, that she has to get an abortion, even though there are people out there that are going to chastise her and criticize her and oust her for doing this, we're going to be there supporting her, knowing damn good well this is not going to be a very easy decision to make and a very easy and simple choice to make, but we're going to support her and be there for her for even when after the shit is over with.
What
Good luck
about
getting that from a pro-lifer.
what about rape and incest? They still want them to give birth to this.
Yeah, and there are women out there who still give birth to those babies. If they want to do that, that is their choice. If they don't want to do that, that is their right and their choice as well.
And you know what? How come they never ask the prospective father if he wants to be a parent? They never ask the man, "You want to be a parent?" They automatically chase his ass down for child support.
Right.
You know,
I
they
mean, that's kind of like what we're doing here with my stepson's real dad. Is he is now like over 3 grand behind in child support, and the threshold for putting a father in jail for back child support is 5,000. He will be approaching that probably here in November. So whenever he comes up for Wyatt's 5th birthday, we're just going to basically sit down and tell him, look, you are this amount of dollars behind in child support. Get a job, get caught up in child support, or your ass is going to be thrown in jail. Not a damn thing that we can say or do about it. Because at that moment, it'll be taken out of our hands and placed into child support enforcement's hands. If they want to throw his ass in jail, there's nothing that we can say or do that's going to stop him.
Yeah, it's funny. The women, the women keep the baby. They don't ask. They don't ask the man if he wants to be a parent, and then automatically they have it. They don't get an abortion, and they chase the guy down for child support
Well,
payments.
here's what he
Yeah,
does.
I
I
think
mean, he's so quick to say that, Wyatt is his son, but then yet he likes to dictate what child support can and cannot be used for. He said, I'll send child support, but you're not going to spend it on the power bill. You're not going to spend it on the electric bill. You're not going to spend it on the cable bill. You're not going to spend it on the internet bill. You're not going to spend it on food. You're not going to spend it on clothing. You're not going to do this. You're going to do that.
And what are you
I'm
gonna
just going
spend
to He said the only thing I'm going to allow it for is medication. If it's not used for medication, I'm going to take your ass to court.
So he wants an invoice, like a auto mechanic. He wants an invoice of to show where the money's being spent. He said no food, no clothing.
Yeah. And I'm just like, we're just like, you fucking idiot. You try to pull shit like that and try to pull us into court over something like that, the judge is going to laugh in your face and dismiss the case very fucking quickly. Because the only way you would have a case is if we took your money and did not spend it on Wyatt. If we were out, partying, getting drunk, getting tattoos and things like that, that'd be a different story. But putting it towards a bill or putting it towards groceries or putting it towards clothing or medication or schooling, that's a legitimate reason. Any kind of rational or sane judge is going to agree with us and throw the case out. I mean, I'm sorry, you're a fucking idiot.
Food and clothing is part of support, child support. Food and clothing.
Yes.
It's like it's. I mean, hopefully the kid doesn't get sick. But if he goes to school, he's going to get sick because the other kids, when kids cough, they cough out in the open. They don't cover their mouth. You touch doorknobs, so the kid's going to get sick. But
Yeah. That's
that
just
yeah.
And that is why I'm so pro-choice. I mean, if a woman wants to go through all this, more power to her. But if she does not want to go through all this, more power to her. But getting back to the pro-life Christian lesbian, I mean, she's really really fucked up in the head. And then she's like, I support this Alabama law, and people should be thrown in prison for destroying potential lives and things like that. I'm like, until that umbilical cord is cut and it takes its first breath, it is not a human being. And I will explain. If a child dies stillborn, he or she is not counted as a citizen. They don't have a funeral, although a funeral can be had at the parent's choice, but still, they don't get issued a birth certificate or a death certificate. I said, and until that baby takes its first breath with the umbilical cord being cut. Some states say that it's murder if you murder a fetus, and then some states say it's murder of a fetus if you do it.
Hey,
My stance on it is it's at the woman's discretion. If a woman wants to press charges against a man or a woman for murdering their child or killing a fetus or harming the fetus to where it causes a miscarriage or that child is born stillborn, if she wants to press charges against that man or woman, fine. But if she doesn't want to, that's fine too. Don't dictate and police to women what they can and what they cannot do. Let them have this thing called a choice, because last time I checked, women have only had any kind of remotely anything resembling a right for the past 100 years. And still, even in some parts of the world today, women don't have any rights at all, much less rights to their own bodies.
yeah, but even in the Bible, it says life began when God gave Adam his first breath. So that's what, when you said that before, it rang a bell, because even biblically, that's technically when life began, when the first breath is.
Well, I hate to say it, life began a long ass time ago, and it's just a continuous process. It doesn't continue, it doesn't start at conception, it doesn't start at this time or that time. It started a long ass time ago, and it's just a continual process. Miscarriages, natural abortions, things like that are just a part of life.
Yeah, exactly,
That
exactly.
just also goes to show you how much of a lack of scientific understanding these people really have about female anatomy.
Yeah. Now
I
that.
mean, a woman can have a natural abortion. I mean, maybe too early in the ovulation cycle, too late in the ovulation cycle, a bad egg, bad sperm, things like that. And or like let's say a woman carries an X amount of time and then her body ultimately rejects it, you know, that's a natural abortion. That technically is a natural abortion. And guess what? That's nothing the man did. That's nothing the woman done. That's nothing God did. That's nothing the devil did. That's just life. That's just science doing its thing.
Well, that's is one thing that right-wing conservatives reject, and that is science. So on that
Yes.
note, let's wrap it up.
Yeah. I got one more point, and then I promise we will wrap it up. So this is my last point. Another reason why I'm pro-choice. There are parts of the world where women are not allowed to have abortions for any reason. They are forced to carry a fetus, regardless of what the reason is. And a woman cannot have an abortion, period. And then when you have other parts of the world where there are forced abortions, yes, that's right, forced abortions, where it relies more upon what the man wants. Say a man wants a son, and the fetus is not a male, the fetus is a female. The man can decide, okay, I want a son, but I will take a daughter. But if the man does not want that daughter, that woman has to go and get a forced abortion. And the woman cannot have any right to say, no, I want to have a daughter. So when you have places of the world where women don't have rights at all, and there's forced abortions, and then parts where women aren't allowed to have any abortions at all, pro-choice is really the most rational and logical, if you ask me.
Yes.
So yeah. And then when she was talking like, what right is really being taken away by women by this law? I'm like, okay, let me explain this little thing called reactionary thinking, which apparently does not comprehend in your mind. Let me give you a little history lesson. All right? Women today and have always been treated as property to men. Okay? And no amount of your historical revisionism saying, well, men went out to war, did this, did that, they didn't always oppress women. No, 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 no. Don't give me your historical revision bullshit. Women have been subjugated and treated as property to men for thousands of years. All right? So, with them passing this law, this is just the start. This is the reversing of time. First, it will be a woman's right to choose to her own body. Then it's going to be what a woman can think and say. Then it's going to be going back to arranged marriages, being subjugated back to men completely. Things like I know the mentality of these people, and I'm sorry, you're full of shit. And if that makes me some kind of sexual chauvinistic pig, then you know what? Fuck you. If you can't handle the truth, don't even be alive. That's what I told her. I said, if you can't handle the truth, don't be alive.
Right.
And then the last thing I told her, and it only pissed her off, she doesn't want to get married to a man and reproduce. I just outright told her, I said, you may not realize this now, but if you ever get married to a man, you become bisexual, and you want to become a mother yourself, you're going to want a pro-choicer in your camp rather than a pro-lifer. Because I guarantee you that pro-lifer will support you in their entirety as long as you become a brood mare. But that moment that you become physically ill and can no longer carry that fetus, that pro-lifer is going to throw you under the bus and say to hell with you.
Yeah.
If you don't believe me, test it for yourself. Prove me wrong. I haven't heard another goddamn word out of her.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. So. All right. On that note. Thank you.
Ding, 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 ding.
I can't find my hotel bell, but
I did it for you.
I got the world's loudest, biggest gonad jingle bell. Okay, good enough. All right.
Yeah, good enough. Well, I'm gonna go in here and have another beer, so I'll catch you later.
In honor of Happy Pagan Christmas.
Well, we'll do another video next week. I'll go ahead and shoot you another topic for next week.
Winter solstice, Yule, and Krampus Day.
Yep.
And Festivus for the rest of us. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.